What's a secret you'll take to your grave, but you'll share with Reddit because you need to get it off your chest? One time in high school I stole this giant turtle statue from a random yard and put it in my grandma's as a joke. It was around the time the gnome was traveling the world. Well, turned out that the old lady was my grandma's frenemy, and when she came over and saw her stolen turtle she wanted answers. Well, my grandma's answer, if it just showed up, did not satisfy her and they got into a huge fight about it. The other old lady died a few years ago. I feel bad I never told her that my grandma didn't steal the turtle. I did. You should put that turtle on the frenemy's grave, for closure. I once straight up left my car in a parking lot outside the university fully unlocked and running for like 5 hours. While I took some classes, this is sandwiched between 2 suicide comments like a nice little palate cleanser. I always have this feeling that I need to be somewhere. My mind is always wandering and not in the present moment wherever I am or whatever I am doing. I'm struggling to find a peace of mind and I sometimes feel depressed and trapped in this downward spiral. I am thinking of going for therapy sessions, though I am not sure how much it might help. I was in a FWB kind of situation with someone I didn't know super well a few months back, and she got off to the fact that a younger guy was into an older woman. I was 24 at the time and she was 40, and I mean, so was I love MILFs and she was right up my alley. But one day she stops talking to me out of nowhere and I find out that it's because she went to jail. Previously, she had told me she used to have a minor drug problem, which I was sympathetic towards because my mom did too, so I knew she was meeting with lawyers or parole people or whoever. And I was surprised she had relapsed because she seemed to be doing so well. Nope, turns out she had raped her 14-year-old son, and was just in my area awaiting trial or something. And she was so into our age difference because she was a pedophile and was using me as a kind of substitute. I was shocked and disgusted when I found out, but it made some of the things she said when we had sex make more sense. I had no idea and probably should have talked about it with someone, but I just felt like trying to forget it would work. And for the most part it has, but I'll still never tell anyone I know personally. My dad committed suicide a few days before my birthday in October. The last conversation I had with him was about how I thought his shitty ex cheated on him. My mental health isn't the greatest, so I've convinced myself over the last 7 months that it's my fault. I regret that that was the last conversation we had. Over his dumb fucking ex. There was no suicide note or anything. I miss him every second of every day and I stare at his urn just sitting there. It's fucking weird, man. I used to take shits in my backyard as a kid and let my stepdad find them. One day he called me out, there is no way in hell this was a goddamn stray cat. Played it cool as a cucumber, I'm really happy for you that you're doing better now. Best wishes for the future. I was the one who put the Ernest Goes to Camp VHS in the VHS player. I was the reason the tape got eaten, I stuck a book in the VCR once. Dad was not happy, but it was the same size as a VHS tape so I couldn't help myself. I had planned on killing my dad with my meds if he was still alive. He wanted to go, we said goodbye, but he had enough of feeling ill. But we believe he was overdosed on morphine by the nurses. I didn't know a death rattle could go on so long. But if he was hanging on the next day I would have given help. We spoke about it a couple of times, I promised him he wouldn't go gasping for air. Everyone thinks I'm just a fuck up in the head drug addict. What they don't know is between 11 to 14 my drunk evil stepmom would take me to her favorite bar, and pimp me out because it amused her. It destroyed my mind so I started using drugs not to get high but to try to forget. I was 50 years old before I told anybody. By then my family had given up on me, my wife left me and my son hasn't talked to me in over 10 years. That secret was going to die with me, but for some reason I told one friend what happened to me, and she helped me realize it wasn't my fault or that I'm just a fuck up. Today, 12 years later, she is still the best friend I've ever had and I haven't touched cocaine since 2008 even though it cost me everything important to me. Not really a bad secret, but a friend of mine in college was strapped for cash for groceries 1 month. There were 3 of them in the core friend group, and I was just his best friend's girlfriend. I wasn't really wealthy either, but I had some extra money to spare from working an IT job at school, so I withdrew $200, left it in an envelope in his house with his name on it, and let him discover it. To this day he still thinks it was his buddy, Andrew. I never saw fit to correct him. It's only money, and he needed to eat. When I was 19 I was seriously considering suicide. I had written letters to my family and everything. The day I was going to do it my mom took me on a surprise errand. It was a woman selling Chihuahua puppies. My mom had me pick one out to be just my dog. I fell in love with that puppy and knew I couldn't leave her by herself. My mom and that dog saved my life. Not as dark as the most in here, but as a teen I had a really bad relationship with my dad. And one day I was really pissed and signed his email up in any freaking newsletter I could find online. He still gets spam mails and doesn't know why. We get along great now. My ex-girlfriend's family told me to break up with her because of her erratic behavior. I will never ever let her know this. My ex-boyfriend's mom, when I called to tell her he had dumped me out of the blue and that I was afraid he was manic and alone, told me, "It is very strange to say this because he is my son, but you deserve better." Edit, I don't know what to say. I kind of forgot I posted this and normally don't have many notifications, so I was confused at first. I did not expect to be crying when I got back on Reddit today. Everyone who took their time to write such kind things, thank you so much. I almost feel a little weird having this up and being seen by thousands of people clearly, since I thought it would just be a usual ignored Ask Reddit comment. But I am going to leave it up because the responses I got actually had a pretty profound impact on my day and my thoughts. And I hopefully this comment and the replies can help someone who might be dealing with similar feelings. The amount of empty liquor bottles I found hidden around the house after my husband passed away. I knew that he liked to drink, sometimes a little too much, and it was something we bickered about occasionally, but I didn't appreciate the full scope of how much exactly he was drinking. Maybe 2 to 3 years before his death he started working from home full-time, and I'm guessing being home alone all day was when he started going off the rails. Absolutely nothing to do with the circumstances surrounding his death, and I wouldn't want to tarnish his memory to family or friends, so I keep it to myself, but I don't mind sharing it with strangers. I promise if his passing was eased by morphine, he was not gasping for air. Morphine makes your brain think you don't even need oxygen, so he was in no distress. The rattle sounds really weird, but it isn't uncomfortable. I'm sorry you had to go through this process, thank you for posting this. I lost my mom a few years back, and she didn't go easy. But they gave her a lot of morphine to help. And that sound has plagued me in my literal nightmares. You have no idea what weight you just took off of my goddamn soul, random Redditor, edit. I can't reply to everyone and be sane enough for my workday, but thank all of you so much. My first day as a nanny looking after a baby girl. I take her to the park and I'm taking videos of her and getting her to walk to me. She walks 3 steps to me and then falls on her butt and cries. It occurs to me that I don't actually know if she has walked with her parents yet, she isn't sure of foot yet. Speaking to her mom later on she tells me she is super close but hasn't walked yet. I figure she must have walked with me because she was feeling clingy without her mom. I never told her parents she walked with me, and it was about 3 weeks later she finally walked for her parents. The first and only time I stole something in my life was from my neighbor who was having a yard sale to take his kids to Disneyland. He had a DS game of backyard baseball and I had the money for it. It was $5 and I wanted it. I went up with the money and he told me that he was going to give it to the landlord's kid who was my age too. I was so mad and annoyed that he was going to get the game for free. A few hours later I went back outside and I saw he wasn't there. I walked up to the stand and I saw the game was still there, so I took it. I also grabbed a bag of golf balls he had for $10 and a few more games that were marked $1 each, so he wouldn't think it was me. I then ran into my apartment and the guilt was eating me up. 30 minutes later he knocked and asked if I took the games because he knew I wanted one. I told him no, that I was inside the whole time. I never played any of those games. I felt so damn bad I couldn't put in my DS. I even wanted to take them back, but I knew I would get caught. They did end up going to that trip. And the landlord kid was mad he didn't get his game. I didn't like him, so I was fine with it. I still have that guilt and I remember the prices of everything and the stand, edit. To clarify, I'm 23 now. I downloaded someone else's code and turned it in as coursework. It was so good that the tutor was suspicious and asked me to provide some development notes and comments. I panicked, emailed the person whose program it was and explained. He sent me several previous versions with bugs so I could show my progress, fully commented code, and even some hand sketches of the interface. He signed it all off with a "fake it till you make it, bro." I got a near perfect score for that piece of work. I cheated on some math homework in college, copying another person's work saved on the computer in the computer lab. He found out and didn't turn me in. I owe him one and wish I could repay him to this day. I still feel weird about it all 25 years later. In 7th grade I was invited to a popular girl's birthday party and I took a massive shit in her bathroom and clogged the toilet. I panicked so I just walked out of there like nothing happened. Then when one of the other kids needed to use the bathroom, they came out and screamed out to everyone that someone left a massive log in the toilet and it wouldn't flush. Suddenly the entire birthday party shifted to the bathroom so they could inspect the giant shit I left in there and everyone was laughing. I played along and laughed too, maybe a little too hard because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. Everyone was staring at my shit and had no idea. I specifically remember one of the kids going, "Well, obviously it wasn't one of us. How would that even be able to come out of a kid?" Skull. Anyway, everyone eventually decided it was her stepdad who did it. I will never not laugh at the fact that everyone thought a 12-year-old girl shit belonged to a middle-aged man because it was so nasty. The girl whose house it was at ended up becoming a major bully in high school, so I felt even more satisfied walking past her knowing they had to clean my shit once upon a time. A year ago my partner of 8 years left me out of the blue, 2 months before our wedding. People tell me how strong I am and how well I'm doing. Compliment my work ethic. I work 60+ hours a week between 2 jobs, and tell me how admirable my coping skills are. When people ask, I'm quite firm in saying how much better off I am without him and how happy I am. Truth is, I think of him every minute of every day. I work so much to avoid being alone in our house. I still love him. I cry myself to sleep at least twice a week. I think about suicide a lot and truly, I don't think I'll ever love anyone like I love him. He was truly my best friend. We bought a dog a few months before he left me. I don't know where I'd be if she didn't come into my life. Saws for the downer post, but that felt cathartic to put into words.